Hey, I'm Alyssa Dunn. I'm 26, and for the past 3 years, I've been raising my sister's 4 kids like they were my own. My bakery business completely fell apart, leaving me broke. So I moved in with her to start over. But instead of rebuilding my life, I ended up being her unpaid nanny, cooking, driving, parenting, while she worked nights and barely showed up. I juggled a part-time coffee shop job and late-night graphic design classes, chasing a dream that felt further away every day. Then one night she dropped a bombshell. "I'm pregnant again," she said. 5th kid. My stomach sank. I had given up so much, my savings, my goals, my freedom, and now another baby? I just couldn't do it anymore, I snapped. My voice shook as I stormed to my room. Her face went cold, like I'd betrayed her. That night, I decided it was time to move out, to finally live for myself. But she didn't let it go easily. Her reaction was explosive, and everything spiraled fast. What happened next completely turned our family upside down. If you've ever felt stuck carrying someone else's load, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell because you won't believe what happens next. Every day with my sister's kids felt like running a marathon I hadn't signed up for. My alarm blared at 5:30 a.m., and I dragged myself out of bed to get the kids ready. Logan, 15, was already arguing with Ellie, 12, over who got the last Pop-Tart. "You ate mine yesterday," Ellie shouted, slamming the cupboard. I split the pastry in half while Hunter, 9, spilled orange juice all over the counter. Nora, 6, clung to my leg, begging for braids before school. I barely had time to gulp cold coffee before piling them into the car. The drive to school? Total chaos. Logan blasting music, Ellie complaining about math, Hunter asking random questions about dinosaurs, and Dean Nora singing off-key. By the time I dropped them off, my head was pounding. Then it was off to my 6-hour shift to the coffee shop, steaming milk and forcing smiles at cranky customers. Can you make it quick? A guy in a suit barked, like I wasn't already juggling 3 orders at once. I earned $15 an hour, barely enough to cover gas and my phone bill. After work, I picked up the kids, helped with homework, and cooked dinner, usually breaking up another fight, this time over who fed the dog. My sister, Cheryl, worked night shifts at the supermarket with her boyfriend Blake. She was either sleeping or gone. I'd catch her for maybe 10 minutes a day while she mumbled, "Thanks for holding it together," before crashing on the couch. By the time I tucked Nora in and checked Ellie's algebra homework, I opened my laptop for graphic design class. I'd always loved creating logos and dreamed of my own studio, but staying up until midnight staring at Photoshop tutorials felt like chasing a ghost. My eyes burned, and I'd often fall asleep mid-lesson, waking up to a dead battery point. One night, Ellie quietly came in. "Why do you look so tired?" she asked. "Just trying to keep up," I said, forcing a smile. She hugged me, and for a second, I felt truly needed. But then I realized needed for what? Changing diapers, driving carpools, wiping tears. This wasn't my family. I started counting how much I was carrying. Logan's soccer practice, Ellie's dance recitals, Hunter's science projects, Nora's asthma trips to the pharmacy. I was spending the last of my $3,000 savings from my failed bakery just to keep them afloat. Cheryl pitched in sometimes, but mostly for rent and groceries. Blake, never a dime. "You're so good with them," Cheryl would say, as if it were a compliment. But it wasn't. It was a trap. I was living her life, not mine. One evening, I called my best friend, Tara, to vent. "I'm drowning," I admitted, pacing the kitchen while the kids watched TV. Tara, who ran her own design gigs, didn't sugarcoat it. "You're not their mom, Melissa. You can't keep putting your dreams on hold." Her words hit hard. I looked at my laptop, opened to a half-finished logo, and realized I hadn't submitted anything in weeks. My professors were emailing about missed deadlines. I was falling behind. The kids weren't the problem. I loved their chaos, their quirks, Logan's sarcastic jokes, Ellie's shy smiles, Hunter's endless questions, Nora's clingy hugs. They were family, but I wasn't their parent. Cheryl was, and she barely showed up. Blake acted like it was all my responsibility. I started calculating the hours. 10 with the kids, 6 at work, 3 on school, leaving maybe 5 for sleep if I was lucky. My dream of designing full-time, of building something for myself, was slipping away one night after Nora cried herself to sleep over a lost stuffed animal. I sat alone with my sketchbook. I hadn't drawn anything but stick figures for her lately, nothing bold or beautiful. My chest felt tight. I wasn't just tired. I was disappearing. Every day I spent raising Cheryl's kids was a day further from who I wanted to be. I loved them, but I couldn't keep sacrificing myself. Something had to change. A week later, I was folding laundry when Cheryl came bursting through the door, a grin plastered across her face like she'd won the lottery. Right behind her was Blake, her new boyfriend, carrying a pizza box and looking way too pleased with himself. "We've got news." Cheryl practically yanked my hand and dragged me to the couch. "I'm pregnant. 5th kid. Can you believe it?" Blake just nodded, tossing the pizza on the table like it was part of the celebration. I forced a smile, muttering, "Wow, congrats." Inside, though, I was spinning. Another baby. Another tiny human to add to my already full plate. And they expected me to cheer like this was somehow my job. Later that night, over dinner, Cheryl hit me with the real bomb. "We've be." And talking, she said, shooting Blake a look. He leaned back, smirking like he was in on some private joke. "You're so great with the kids, Alyssa. We need you to step up even more. Maybe quit your coffee shop job and focus on them full-time." I froze mid-bite. "Quit my job?" I whispered, my voice barely there. Blake shrugged. "Yeah, we're swamped at the supermarket. With the baby coming, we just can't handle everything." Cheryl jumped in. "Plus, money's tight. You could chip in $300 a month for rent. It's only fair since you're living here." My heart started racing. $300. I was barely keeping myself afloat, pouring what little I had into their kids. I tried to stay calm. "I'm already doing school runs, meals, homework. I can't quit my job." Cheryl's eyes narrowed. "You're here, eating our food, using our space." Blake added casually, "It's just temporary. We'll figure it out after the baby." Temporary. Their words made my blood boil. I've been holding this family together for 3 years, and now they acted like I was their live-in helper. I pushed my plate away and stood up. "I need to think about this," I said, walking out before I said something I'd regret. The next day, I called Tara while the kids were at school. "They want me to quit my job and pay rent," I said, my hands shaking. "They're acting like I'm their maid." Tara didn't even pause. "They're using you, Alyssa. You're not their employee. What about your design classes? Your future?" Her words hit hard, but she was right. I'd been so caught up keeping their family afloat, I'd forgotten about my own life. I stared at my laptop, the unfinished logo project taunting me. I was falling behind. And for what? To keep being everyone's unpaid MOM. In the days that followed, Cheryl and Blake kept piling it on. "Think of the kids," Cheryl said one morning, handing me a new list of chores. Grocery run. Doctor appointments for Nora's asthma, soccer fees. Blake suggested I sell my old bakery equipment to help out. I wanted to scream. They weren't asking for help. They were demanding I give up my life. That I started noticing how they dodged responsibility. Cheryl would sleep through the kids' arguments, leaving me to mediate. Blake would linger after work, joking with Cheryl while I cooked dinner. I was invisible to them, just a tool to make their lives easier. One evening, Logan caught me packing my laptop after a late study session. "You okay?" he asked, his usual sarcasm gone. I hesitated. "I'm trying to be," I said. He nodded like he understood more than I thought. The kids noticed. They saw how much I did. But Cheryl and Blake acted like it was my duty. That night, I lay in bed, my mind racing. I couldn't keep going like this. My savings were disappearing. My classes were slipping. My dream of designing was fading. I needed out. Not just for me, but to show the kids that stepping back didn't mean abandoning them. That I started searching for apartments online, hands trembling as I typed. $300 a month? I'd rather spend that on a place of my own. I wasn't their servant. I refused to be. The next evening, I was helping Ellie with history homework when Cheryl stormed in, arms crossed. "We need to talk. she snapped. I set the textbook down, bracing myself. What's up? I asked, keeping my voice calm. You're not pulling your weight, Alyssa, she said, cutting right to it. I asked you to step up and you're still working those coffee shop shifts. It's irresponsible. Irresponsible. My breath caught. I've been running her household for years. I'm doing everything I can, I said sharply. I cook, clean, drive the kids every day. Cheryl rolled her eyes. That's not enough. With a baby coming, we need you here, not chasing some hobby degree. I stood up, chair scraping the floor. My design classes aren't a hobby. They're my future. Cheryl laughed, cold and bitter. Future? You live in my house, eating my FO. OD, you think you're too good for us now. Her words stung, but I bit back my anger. Ellie was watching, eyes wide. I took a deep breath. I'm not your servant, Cheryl. I've given you 3 years of my life. Cheryl stepped closer, voice low. If you're not all in, maybe you shouldn't be here at all. Freeze. Was she kicking me out? Before I could answer, she left, leaving me shaking with anger. I grabbed my phone and called Tara, pacing in the backyard. She called me irresponsible, I said, voice tight. She thinks I owe her my entire life. Tara's voice was calm but firm. Alyssa, you need boundaries. You're not her employee or her mom. You deserve your own space, your own goals. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I know, but the kids, they need me. They need their mom. Not you sacrificing everything, Tara said. Find your own place. You've got savings, right? Her words lit a fire in me. I'd been so focused on Cheryl's demands, I'd forgotten about myself. That night, I searched for apartments in Madison. A few small studios downtown, about $1,500 a month. My $3,000 savings could cover a deposit and first month's rent. I'd keep the coffee shop job, maybe pick up extra shifts. I started crunching numbers, heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. I could make it work. I had to. But the kids' faces kept flashing in my mind. Logan's quiet worry, Ellie's shy hugs, Hunter's endless chatter, Nora's clingy hands. Leaving would hurt them, but staying meant losing myself. The next day, after school, I sat Logan down. I'm thinking about moving out, I said. Watching his face, he frowned, tugging at his hoodie. Because of Mom? He asked, and I nodded. I need to live my life too, I said softly. But I'll still be here for you all, just differently. He didn't reply right away. I could tell he was thinking it over. That night, I sat down and started crunk. Hitting numbers, making a budget. $1,500 for rent, $500 for food and utilities, $200 for my classes. My coffee shop gig brought in $15 an hour, 30 hours a week. Barely enough if I cut every extra corner. No new clothes. No dining out. Nothing unnecessary. Over the next few days, Cheryl noticed me pulling away. You're acting weird, she said one morning, catching me scrolling through apartment listings. I wasn't looking, I said flatly. Just planning. She scoffed, the familiar threat of bailing hanging in the air. Her words stung, but I didn't answer. I was done fighting on her terms. Tara texted later, checking in. You're doing the right thing. Don't let her guilt you. Her words became my lifeline. I had to break free, not just from a house, but to reclaim my life. By the end of the week, I had a list of apartments to visit and a plan to make it happen, no matter what Cheryl threw at me next. A few days later, after dropping the kids at school, I slipped out to see the first studio. Small, just one room with a tiny kitchenette, but mine. A place I could breathe, work on my designs, just be me. The landlord quoted $1,500 plus a deposit. I clutched my phone, full of screenshots from 3 other listings. My $3,000 savings would cover the move, but I'd have to stretch every penny. Back at Cheryl's, I stayed quiet, dodging her sharp glares. I wasn't ready for a fight. I focused on prepping the kids instead. Logan first. After dinner, I pulled him aside while Ellie helped Hunter with a puzzle. Logan, we need to talk, I said, handing him a notebook. If I move out, you'll need to step up. He snapped, eyes blazing. You're leaving us because of Mom, aren't you? He slammed the notebook down, but I stayed calm. I'm not leaving you. I'm teaching you how to handle things. I showed him how to make grocery lists, plan meals, easy stuff like tacos, and check Nora's inhaler. He grumbled but took notes. You're 15, I reminded him. You're smart. You can do this. His jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. Later, Ellie cornered me, voice tiny. Are you moving because we're too amusey? H. My heart ached. No, Ellie. It's not you. I just need my own space. She hugged me, burying her face in my shoulder, quiet sobs shaking her. I held her close, promising I'd always be nearby. Hunter and Nora were harder. At 9 and 6, they couldn't fully understand. Over breakfast, I told them I might live somewhere else soon. Hunter frowned. Who's gonna help with my science project? Nora's lip quivered. Will you still braid my hair? I reassured them I'd visit, call, be there. But their confused, worried faces lingered in my mind. The next few days, I toured more apartments. One had a park view, another was closer to the coffee shop. I finally picked a studio I could afford. My job would cover rent, utilities, and food if I skipped extras. I'd paused my design classes for a month to save money, but could pick them back up soon. Tara called, excited. You're taking control. The kids will be okay. They've got you as an example. Her words lifted me, but the kids' reactions weighed heavy on my heart. One evening, I taught Logan how to do laundry. Load it like this, I said, showing him the detergent. He rolled his eyes but listened. Mom never does this, he muttered. I stayed quiet. He was starting to notice Cheryl's absence, and it hurt him more than he let on. Ellie helped Nora with bedtime stories, her eyes red from crying. Hunter asked constantly when I'd visit, and Nora clung to me, whispering, don't go far. I felt torn, but I couldn't back down. By week's end, I'd scheduled the lease signing. I packed a small bag, tucked away sketches, closed my laptop. Cheryl didn't notice, too busy with Blake or her shifts. I told the kids I'd be moving soon but promised calls and visits. Logan's anger softened to a reluctant nod. Ellie gave me a drawing, her silent way of saying she'd miss me. Hunter and Nora still seemed lost, but I hoped they'd understand over time. I wasn't abandoning them. I was showing them what standing up for yourself looked like. Moving day came. My new studio in Madison was small, just a mattress and a desk, but it was mine. I arranged my laptop, a few sketches, and felt lighter than I had in years. I texted Logan, Hunter, and Nora, promising a pizza night soon. Cheryl hadn't spoken since I signed the lease, her silence oddly comforting. But then, 3 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. This is Officer Doyle from the Madison Police Department, said a steady voice. My stomach dropped. We received a complaint. Can you meet us at your sister's address? I drove over, heart pounding. 2 officers waited outside, clipboards in hand. Cheryl was on the porch, face red with rage. She stole $500 and ruined our stuff, she shouted, pointing at me. The washing machine's broken, and the sofa's ripped. I didn't take anything, I said firmly. I left clean. Officer Doyle raised an eyebrow. Show us the damage. Inside, Cheryl pointed at the sofa tear and the broken machine. She did this before she left, she insisted. I haven't touched your things, I said. I've been at my place all week. Officer Reed inspected the sofa and washing machine. Could be wear and tear, he said, noting a loose wire and an old tear. I turned to Cheryl. Search my apartment, my car. Go ahead. You'll see I didn't take anything. Officer Doyle looked at her. Any proof of theft or vandalism? Cheryl faltered. The money was in my dresser, she muttered. Before I could respond, Logan stepped forward, face tense. I need to speak, he said. My heart jumped. He looked at Officer Doyle. Mom's making this up. The sofa's been torn for months. Hunter spilled juice last summer. The washing machine broke because she overloaded it. And the money? She spent it on groceries. Never hid anything. Cheryl's eyes widened. Logan, that's enough, she snapped, voice shaking. Logan didn't hold back. Alyssa's been more of a parent than you ever were. She paid for our school stuff, drove us everywhere while you and Blake BA. Rely showed up. My chest tightened as I stared at him. Officer Reed scribbled notes, his face unreadable. So, no theft? No damage recently? He asked Logan. None, Logan said, folding his arms. Mom's just mad because Alyssa moved out. Cheryl's face flushed, but she stayed quiet. Officer Doyle shook his head. Ma'am, false reports are serious. We'll let this one slide, but don't call us unless it's real. They nodded to me and left. I pulled Logan aside in the driveway. You didn't have to do that, I murmured. He shrugged, kicking at a pebble. You don't deserve any of this. You've always been there for us. I hugged him, trying not to cry. Later, in my tiny studio, I called Tara, still rattled. Cheryl tried to pin theft and vandalism on me, I said, pacing back and forth. Logan set them straight, but I'm done with her games. Sounds like she's losing control, Tara said sharply. Keep your distance. Don't let her pull you back in. I agreed, glancing around my empty apartment. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Free from her lies. That evening, I checked in with Ellie. She sent me a picture of her latest drawing. Hunter begged to visit, and Nora wanted a bedtime story over the phone. I promised to see them soon, but everything had shifted. Logan's words kept ringing in my ears. She and Blake were barely around. The kids deserved better, and I couldn't keep covering for Cheryl's failures. I sat at my desk, sketching a new logo, hands steady for the first time in months. Cheryl could try to sabotage me, but I was building something of my own. No one could take that away. 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed. It was Logan. His voice cracked. Mom's in the hospital, something with a pregnancy. The kids are freaking out. I froze, coffee halfway to my lips. Despite everything, Cheryl's lies, her games, I thought of Ellie's tear-streaked hugs, Nora's little braids, Hunter's endless chatter. They didn't deserve this. AT the hospital. Dr. Patel met me in the waiting area. Your sister has placenta previa, she said gently. She'll need strict bed rest, probably until delivery. I swallowed hard. 3 months. That's how long I'd be in the middle of this. Cheryl lay in her hospital bed, pale and quiet, a ghost of her usual fire. The kids, they need you, she whispered, barely looking at me. I nodded, feeling my resolve harden. I'll help, but only for the kids and only on my terms. Her frown didn't faze me. I keep my job, my apartment, and I'm not paying you. I'll stay 3 months max to help the kids through this. She nodded, too tired to argue. I wasn't there for her. I was there for Logan, Ellie, Hunter, and Nora back at the house. Chaos reigned. Ellie clung to me, whispering, Is Mom okay? I hugged her tight, promising Dr. Patel was taking care of her. Hunter kept asking where Blake was, and Nora refused to sleep without me nearby. Logan tried to stay calm, but his clenched fists betrayed him. The house felt like a storm had hit. Dishes stacked in the sink, laundry overflowing, homework scattered everywhere. Blake was a ghost, lost in long supermarket shifts. When I finally caught him, he barely said a word, grabbed a beer, and disappeared to the garage. He's been like this since Mom got sick, Logan muttered. I stepped in, but this time, differently. I taught Logan to split chores with Ellie, assigning simple tasks to Hunter and Nora. I cooked, checked homework, and made sure the kids were fed, but I refused to sleep there. I went home to my studio every night. One evening, Ellie asked softly, Why can't you stay? I knelt beside her. I'm here for you, but I need my own space. She nodded, though her eyes were sad. Blake's absence made everything harder. He'd come home late, barely acknowledging the kids. One night, Nora cried because he'd missed her school play. He said he'd be there, she sobbed. I held her close, simmering with anger. Logan overheard and muttered, He's checked out. Always has been. I didn't argue. He was right. The family was falling apart. I couldn't fix it all, but I could keep the kids safe. Keep them fed, keep them sleeping, keep them feeling loved. One afternoon, Tara called while I helped Hunter with math. You're doing too much again, she warned. Don't let them pull you back in. I sighed. It's just 3 months. For the kids. This time, I have boundaries. Tara wasn't convinced. Watch out for Cheryl. She'll lean on you when she's back on her feet. I knew she was right, but seeing the kids' faces kept me going. I wasn't their mom, but I couldn't let them fall apart by the second month. I'd settled into a routine, work, help the kids, return to my studio. Cheryl called occasionally, but I kept it brief. Blake's absence weighed heavier. Logan stepped up, handling grocery runs and soothing Nora's nightmares, but I could see it in his eyes. The strain, the worry, the anger. One night, Logan admitted, I'm scared for Mom, but I'm mad too. She's never here, even when she's not sick. My heart ached for him. I couldn't stay forever, but for now, I would hold it together. As I drove home, my sketches waiting, a quiet determination settled over me. I was helping, but I wasn't losing myself again. 3 months later, Cheryl left the hospital, her newborn son in her arms. I had kept my promise, helping the kids through her bed rest. But that was IT the house. I stood in the kitchen, calm but firm. I'm out, I said. I love the kids, but I can't do this anymore. Cheryl's eyes narrowed. You're abandoning us again. I shook my head. I've given enough. You're their mom. Step up. She didn't respond, just turned away. That was it. I walked out, cutting the cord for good. I couldn't leave the kids behind. Logan, Ellie, Hunter, and Nora deserved better than the chaos of their parents. I called Tara, who lived CLO. Stared at them. Can you be their lifeline? I asked. Without hesitation, she agreed. From my coffee shop paycheck, I started sending $50 a month for school supplies and snacks.